internet, what's happening? It is the butt crack of dawn, and what are we doing today? Fusion things. Now, it's been a while since the Fusion's been on the channel, and maybe some of you newcomers aren't familiar with it or haven't seen it, obviously, because we haven't had it showcased. I haven't driven it, even gotten out of a trailer in 7 months to the day. So I just kind of wanted to show you what I got going on and kind of give you an overview of the build. I'm just going to do a bolt check. I'm actually taking it drifting tomorrow. Today is the 4th of July, actually, so happy birthday, America. And yeah, I'm gonna get the kill switch off here. It's been on overnight, so that's great. Battery's probably dead, but gonna give it a well overdue oil change, bolt check, and show you what's going on, get it in the air. One of the bolts that constantly loosen up on me is the drive shaft bolt. And yeah, just gotta do your over. This thing's been super reliable, and if you don't know what it's all about, let me give you a little rundown while it's on the floor, and then I'll show you what's going on underneath. All right, so this is a 2016 Ford Fusion, if you haven't figured that out yet. So that's Ford's like second gen. And what do we got under the hood? We got a 2016 5-liter. Nothing special there. We got headers and a tune, essentially. That's really all the mods. I got oil pump gears in there, you know, because this thing's always banging rev limiter. And yeah, that's pretty basic under the hood. You know, I took a lot of the, obviously, tube fronted, and took out the false firewall and painted it competition orange because it's one of my favorite Ford colors, probably next to Velocity Blue. But yeah, I'm actually still running stock Fusion fans, believe it or not. They keep this thing stupid cool. It still has a stock thermostat in it, and this thing, I swear, like when I'm at the line for in grid to do a run, it'll be at like, you know, 192 normal temperatures, and then I'll do a run. It'll get up to like 196, but then I feel like then the thermostat finally fully opens. The thing comes down to like 187, like after the run, sitting a little bit in there. So yeah, it's been super reliable. There's nothing really special about the motor. Had 30,000 when I bought it back in 2018, when you could get them for like 4,500 bucks fully dressed. Now good luck getting a second gen for that price. And let's move on to the front, or on the inside, I should say. So, let's crack open the door here. So you can see we got it fully caged. This is a roll cage done by my guy, Devin, at GSK Fab. He's out of Tempe, and did a great job, you can see there. So we actually left this cage raw, and every now and again, I scuff it and treat it with a product I like to use called Gibbs. So you can see my main hoop is way back there because my seat is way back here, mostly because of the column, and that's just where the pedals ended up. So I've got a full Willwood pedal assembly there. I was gonna do floor mount, not enough floor there to mount it. So you can see a JTP style handle for the handbrake, Willwood master cylinder, pretty basic stuff there. And no, that's not a sequential. That's actually a stock shifter for a GT500, because that's the kind of transmission we have, is a TR 6060 out of an 07 GT500. Picked that up again back in 2018 when we first started building this thing for like 1,400 bucks. Guy in Tucson had it. Unfortunately, that's the one thing that's been kind of failing. His second gear is a little upset, the synchro. So I'm gonna have to replace that or fix it, and finding another TR6060 replacement has been trying. So as you can see, the let's see if I can sneak in there. That's just a Windows tablet. I run gauges on there, and then a Moroso switch panel. Very simple, very basic NRG wheel. Power windows still work. And yeah, so what's going on back here? We see another seat. I'll show you. So yes, you do have to be kind of small to fit back here, but there is a third race seat. I've been told that it's the best seat in the house. My wife can fit back there, and she's like, it's because you're actually sitting above where my viewpoint would be, and it's like almost like third person video game kind of stuff. But when you're back here, it's like you feel all the swing. And we got the battery box sitting there, the Moroso battery box. And yeah, more no steps, because that's just trimmed to cover the body, so no one hurts their foot or whatever. So let's move on to the trunk. So these are usually on the inside, because this usually has an electronic latch. Obviously not working because it's been stripped out. So I was actually pretty proud of this when I figured out how to make this work. So this is actually the end of the factory hood latch release cable that I tied to the original kidnapping cable, and got it fished out of here, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, so we got here is a little 10-gallon fuel cell, very basic, and that's a wall barrel now. I ditched the Beach Works, it was very noisy, and the foam broke down in the original foam that came with the tank and went through that pump, so I replaced this with a quieter wall barrel unit and a pre-filter. So yeah, it's also very super basic. Yes, I have the regulator back here. We're not boosted, so that's literally, it's still a return system, so the return is just right there, and then we just have one line going to the fuel rail. Well, one fuel filter, then the fuel rail. So I'm pretty sure that thing's like basically empty, but that's neither here or there. So let's get this thing in the air, start doing the oil change and my bolt check, and I'll show you what else is going on underneath. All right, you can see we got it in there. Let's show you what we got going on underneath in the front. So, S197 subframe. And terrible exhaust system made by yours truly. Yes, not very proud of that. Yes, I do run an electric rack. Why? Well, if you don't know me that well, I'm a big advocate of it, even if you have to feed the wheel during drifting, because this rack will never overheat, it'll never leak fluid, and it never breaks. And you got your weight down low. And it's controlled by a Cortex. This one is controlled by a Cortex controller. Basically puts it in comfort mode. Comfort Plus, I'd like to call it, because I think it's more assist than what comfort mode would give you if this was out of a, like when you can switch the settings in a real car, or a factory car, I should say. So this is actually an S550 rack that I made fit the S197 subframe. Would not recommend, because the bolts, as you can see, are like that close to being off, and it was a lot of work. I also had to do some metal work on the top side. So yeah, we got the BC Racing coils. The very first, yes, they are rusty because I went through a few revisions on the arms. The very first Make It Modular angle kit for this, at least the arms anyway. The very first rendition actually had all powder coated, all nice. They failed because I didn't know any better back then. That was almost 6 years ago now. And you'll notice we got a little JTP knuckle action. So JTP was actually, Justin Pollock was kind enough to do a little friendly sponsorship when I was building this car. So that's his knuckles. He gave me this rack, that handbrake, and when we get to the back, I'll show you the cool parts he gave me back there too. So that's what's running in the front of the car. Why aren't I running my own stuff? Well, it hasn't, haven't had a reason to take it off. Like, I developed my stuff on a real car because I didn't want to, develop a S197 kit on a car that's not an S197 per se, even though the geometry is pretty much identical, because there's only, two mounting points on the chassis essentially, the lower and upper. But we wanted the real world, so that's why we have the angle kit on the actual S197. So one thing I like to show people is, yeah, that is a heater core. Why am I running a heater core in front? Let me tell you why. So A lot of hot rodders like to just loop the heads on the Coyotes. And those lines that they usually loop are going to the heater core. So this actually helps cooling it. I think this also helps the fact that this thing cools so well is we're at the factory oil cooler there, and I have the lines looped from the heads, teed into here, and going to the heater core. So that actually is another like mini radiator to cool the heads themselves, along with the main radiator. You know, stock Fusion fans, all that good stuff. Then we got the TR6060, and then a custom drive shaft from Full Torque Drive Shafts, going back to the S550 rear end. Let's take a look at time followers. Might remember when this thing was first getting put into this chassis. So it's out of a 2015 to 23 IRS dropout. I got it for super cheap back in the pre-COVID era. I think it was $600 with suspension, brakes, and everything. Shipped to essentially my door, my work, on a pallet. It's had a little few upgrades. We got the Steeda camber arms, which has loose this while you do the bolt check. Look at that, got a loose nut. It's not even behind the wheel. Tie rods. I got some upgraded axles. Ford Racing. That'll never break on this car. I actually broke the original V6 axles that this car came with, or the subframe came with. So, fun fact is, this rear end, this is the Fusion rear suspension, is identical practically in design to the Mustang, the second gen Fusions, the 2013 to 20. So shock mounts, same. Spring perches, lined right up. The rear subframe mounting points, where are they? There they are. Lined right up. You notice I got a little spacer there. That's because the front ones were just a bit off, and I made a little adapter that I ended up welding in there so I could bolt the front mounts in there. So yeah, it's pretty cool that this thing all just kind of practically bolted in. So now I got off-the-shelf Mustang parts, and the only thing that's custom back here, besides the drive shaft and those mounts, are the other beauties that JTP gave me. So it's kind of hard to tell from this, but there's the rotor hat, the Hotline / JTP item 2, and his dual caliper brackets to run these Willwoods. Effortless hand braking, I tell you. Never had to worry about this at all. So yeah, that's, look at that alignment though. That's what you want. Nice, even tire wear for your drift car. I think I'm running like +5 positive camber because these things like to squat. And I have a little toe gain. Yeah, and we're running I put in a 409 gear set in this housing, because the long legs of that TR60 they're long. 355s, this thing was a second gear hero, even on high speed tracks like a Las Vegas road course. So yeah, that's kind of the quick and dirty of the Fusion. Never mind this nasty exhaust. I used to have straight pipe and duals. Sounded like absolute hot garbage. It might look like hot garbage, but I put in a resonator, the longest one I could find. And now we just got single out. Sounds way better. It's not obnoxious on cold start. And yeah, the only reason I run a fuel cell, which is on the other side of that shield, is because we had to get rid of some material here that ended up taking out the gas tank straps, which is a bummer because I was going to run an all-wheel drive gas tank to have a dual saddle and have it go over the drive shaft, and I could just fill it up like a normal car, but oh well. Yeah, that's the kind of the quick rundown of my Fusion build. I know it hasn't been featured on the channel in a while, mainly because I've been busy doing actual Mustang things and haven't driven this thing in a bit. So we're gonna test it out tomorrow, July 5th at Tessa, to get some glamour shots and stuff for an upcoming event at that track in September called the Southwest Festival of Speed. And they invited me to do some testing and, you know, hype it up. So that's gonna be really cool. So I'm just gonna do some oil change, do my bolt checks, get some fresh rubber on a couple pairs of wheels, and we'll be ready to party, hopefully. Need some fuel in it too. This thing likes to, when it like sits or gets low in the fuel cell, almost goes into like limp mode, but that might be because the battery is so low when I tried to start. I've seen it happen a couple of times. Usually when I cycle the ignition off and back on, it decides it wants to be a real motor again, instead of limiting it to 3,000 RPMs, but don't worry about that little guy. So yeah, it's our little rundown. So if you like this video, hit that thumbs up. If you want to see more Mustang stuff and hopefully more Fusion stuff in the future, please consider subscribing. We'll see you next time.